Brush of fresh air against my cheek does little to dampen the chill in my bones. But now the sensation, the fear and disquiet it leaves whenever I see her is familiar enough for me. Already has made a home in my nerves. I don't even notice my trembling hands until I cross my arms across my chest. The cold from the tips of my fingers seep through the thick material of my shirt. Neither of it helps bring together some semblance of coherent thought in my head. But I know. I know I should.
Someone has to tell that douche.
I start walking back before fear can cripple me again. It's not wise. Returning, that is, especially after what happened. But Hannah still is an old friend, and Luke doesn't deserve whatever misfortune that letter might bring. I can't just leave those two in there. Isabel's right. She's real, and there's something she wants from everyone who has read that.
Becca, where'd you go off to? If we're done here, let's go.
My mistake. The second that his voice cuts through the crisp night air is that I've allowed my mistake. The second his voice cuts through the crisp night air is that I've allowed my annoyance to get the better of me. Fuming, purpose forgotten, I whirl around and march towards him. One accusation after another piles up on the tip of my tongue, ready to be hurled at any moment. There's no hesitation holding me back when I fling it at him. That straight face he keeps as I do so it doesn't help temper my anger either. It only makes me want to slap some more sense into him.
Shouldn't I be the one asking you that?
Becca, I've been waiting here the whole time since that mess in the hall. I told you I hate parties like...
And before that, where have you been the entire evening?
Right then and there, I might have forgiven him if he's shown some ounce of remorse for leaving me like that. Maybe he could have looked away, given me a sign that my assumptions might be right. He doesn't even need to put them into words. A single gesture of confirmation is all I need. Rather, what I get is the same impassive look. He does whatever he can't disclose anything. He does that whenever he's lying. In the face of it, amidst the thick tension, a frustrated huff is the only thing I can summon.
Be that way. Fine. Suit yourself.
No more words. After everything I've seen and heard tonight, I'm already too exhausted for those. So without speaking any further, I simply walk past him and stomp over his car. Although before I can pull open the door, he calls out, one hand outstretched and a gentle weight on my shoulder.
Wait, Becca.
He pauses, his brow furrows and lips curving into a slight frown. I can almost see the gears turning in his head while he tries to piece together everything he wants to say. Before, perhaps, I might have waited patiently for those. He's not a man fond of using words to express himself. More often than not, any gesture of honesty will only come out blunt or coarse when forced. But today, for one reason or another, I simply can't summon that forbearance.
Ashton, if you're just going to waste my time again...
Becca, listen. I don't know how else...
That much is obvious. Why don't you just take the whole bloody night? Go on. I can wait until next year. Better yet, why don't you just keep it all to yourself like you always do? It's not like...
Rebecca, will you hear me out first?
The silence I can offer him, but whether I'll believe what he's about to say is still up for debate. A very long debate.
I honestly don't know how else to put this. I'm aware your parents have some kind of history with Hannah Wright, and somehow you're friends with her. But you should stay away from these people for now, especially the husband.
Who? Luke?
His expression deepens into a scowl at my mention of his name, but whatever opinion he has, he doesn't immediately voice. Still, something about it has greatly displeased him, evident in the stiff note his tone assumes.
Yeah, he's bad news.
Care to explain your reasons?
I've not meant for it to sound as harsh as it does, but anger and frustration have never been such a good match in me, particularly in nights like this. It's not surprising when Ashton jerks back as if I've struck him. For a fleeting moment, something akin to hurt darts across his face, his eyes narrowing and hands closing into tightly into a fist at his side. Then swiftly he glances away and shifts his focus on the line of trees nearby, like an answer can be gleaned from the dark expanse.
I'm really sorry, Becca.
What is it for? For the party? The vague answer he continues to give? Does it include all those times before, the year's worth of it? I don't doubt its sincerity. However, at the moment, the forgiveness he's asking isn't something I'm willing to hand. Furious as I am. It's frankly I wonder how I can keep myself from raising my voice again.
We'll talk about this tomorrow. And you better have a proper answer for me by then.
There's a brief hesitation before I step away, a short moment of wanting to say more, of waiting if he has anything to add. He's only silent, eyes still trained in a distance. It is at the glimpse I see of him before I climb inside his car. If the door slams closed with the same force as the anger I'm holding, its sound merely vanishes into the night unnoticed. He follows soon after, and shortly we're on our way back to the city. Yet even with the city's bright lights welcoming us, the dense somber air from the mansion still lingers. The moon is almost at its highest by the time we reach Salemwell. Even after our respective heads have cooled off, the atmosphere within the car remains rife with unspoken tension. This isn't a problem so easily fixed with a few handshakes. Quite frankly, I don't know what will. Ashton himself has no idea what to do when he alights and dawdles awkwardly in the middle of the car park, unsure. It almost seems like he's having an internal debate whether he should say goodbye or mutter another apology. I could have driven him away, purely out of spite, the second I've gotten off. Still, old habits die hard. It's late and Ashton's flat is on the other side of the city. Irritation might still rear its head every time I look at him now, but I'm not too cruel to put up with him another long drive, especially when he still appears as if he hasn't gotten any rest.
You can borrow the couch.
I throw the keys to my flat his way before I protest forms on his lips. Although he catches it with ease, he has it with a wary expression and shoots a puzzled glance my way.
You haven't been forgiven. We're still going to have that talk, believe me. But I'm not about to send you out on another drive looking like that. It's late. Go get some rest.
We're setting aside a lot of loose ends like this, but he appears to have accepted that reason, at least in the meantime. He does give me another questioning glance when I shove past him, pulling my mobile in the process.
Where are you going? I thought...
You go ahead upstairs. I need to contact Professor Andrew.
Andrew? Why would you... Oh, no. Please. Is this that thing Isabella said this morning? Again? I already gave her my word, Becca. I'll look into this BRC crap. No need to drag the old guy into it.
Of course, he's still skeptical. It makes me wonder if he's even seeing anything at all. Figures his curse will stay away from the scoffer. But this is another loose end tonight that I can't just leave alone, Ashton's belief notwithstanding. It just so happens that it's one I can delve into using means other than taking a look at the mansion itself.
Ashton, do you really think I still give a shite after that stunt you pulled tonight?
No, but this is...
I spent so many years with him to know this is about to turn into another argument. Before he can finish, I cut him off with a firm raise in my hand.
Look, I don't care. There are weird things happening around here. And yes, it's Isabella's brand of weird. Ghostly voices, strange sounds, and a bloody woman sitting at the back of my car. You don't have to believe me. And I no longer have the patience to convince you, so just leave me be, Ashton.
He doesn't push it, growing quiet instead, although he has a whole case of it prepared inside his head. But there is a reluctant shift in his movement when he steps away from our conversation. Short of climbing the stairs, he stops, turns to face me with an expression almost too conflicted.
Are you really sure?
What?
That there was something? That you've been, seeing things?
Yes, I'm very, very certain. Now go. And you better not break anything in there. The last time I let you stay over, it was that statuette Belle gave me. You haven't even replaced that one.
The last of my reprimand goes both unheard and unanswered as he disappeared behind the stairs. If things aren't as strained, he might have a quip or two about that, followed by a light banter. Instead, for a long moment, I am left staring after him. There's something in the way he asked it that nags, coupled with his expression. The whole exchange just feels unsettling. Well, that doesn't fade, even as I gather my thoughts and shift my focus on another, even as I dial Professor Andrews' number. And that is when it clicks. During the long wait for the professor, one stray thought emerges from the unease. Ashton has not intended for this question to be a jibe. It's concern. For what, though? For my well-being? The letter's curse? The woman I mentioned? The answers for those will have to wait, however. Finally, the call connects and Professor Andrews' voice echoes from the receiver.
Professor Andrew?
Rebecca? It's late. What can I do for you?
I know, I'm sorry, but this is a bit urgent.
After all, this is a more pressing matter. Our lives might be at stake and we're still in the dark.
Actually, I was wondering if I could ask you to do me a favor.
Oh god, it's still going. One person chapter should not be 4 hours of reading. Professor Andrew Clark has agreed to meet me 2 days later in front of the Luxbourne Public Library. He has other commitments, but being a longtime family friend has its perks. I have my parents' connections to thank for that. Of course, I'm not the sort to impose on him often, but the situation is, well, it's not entirely bad, although it does require calling in a few favors from friends like him. Without his signature, I won't be able to gain access to the library's restricted section, if I want to get more in-depth information on the Ermengarde mansion. That is, not simply what they chose to show the general public. As much as I hate to admit it, there's always something people censor, and whatever it is, I won't ever find it in the general section. It has to be what they're keeping here beyond the public eye. Though that alone makes me antsy. Thankfully, I don't have to brood over it. The wait for the professor doesn't last long. He never did enjoy making people wait. Likewise, he dislikes people who are tardy. He arrives 5 minutes after I do, greeting me with the kind smile and casual wave of his hand. I haven't seen him in so long, but it appears he hasn't changed much. His familiar presence alone is enough for a fond smile to spread across my
Professor
face.
Andrew.
Rebecca, didn't I say long ago you can drop the professor?
You know I can't possibly do that. Even if I can, it feels disrespectful to call you by your name alone.
Both you and Ashton never listen to this old man. Kids these days.
All right, but just for today, since you're doing me a huge favor, Andrew.
I guess you simply can't have it all, even at this old age. But pleasantries aren't what we're here for, yes? You mentioned you needed a permit.
Yes, sir, if that's okay with you.
More than fine. Anything in pursuit of knowledge, as they say.
He hands me the permit without further prompting. And just like he promised, he's also written a recommendation after his signature. It's more than enough to get me those files. A matter of small things for slipping it into my pocket. Although when I look back at his brows are furrowed, his very face of curiosity. Not surprising considering how vague I've been during our little talk over the phone. Right then and there, I decided to tell him if he ever asked. Maybe not all of it, but stuff he needs to know. It's the least I can do to thank him. As expected, true to his inquisitive nature, he asks.
If you don't mind, though. I know you've always been an eager learner, but may I know what in the restricted section that piqued your curiosity?
It's the Ermengarde mansion, sir.
He's quick to raise an eyebrow at that, and for a while I fear he'll take the slip of paper back. If there's something in it what I
The
said...
ones they have out in the general isn't enough?
I'm, hoping for a more in-depth read, sir. More about the history and the people who once lived there. The general section doesn't have anything much on that.
Oh, I see. Well, you certainly aren't the first one to be enamored with that place. It doesn't shock me. The architecture is admirable, and the urban legends are something to talk about. Why, just this past week, I've got a few asking me about that. Imagine that.
I think enamored might be a little too much to describe our interest in it. But I have to agree. The mansion is beautiful, even with the renovations. They kept the stained glass windows, too. They are magnificent.
Oh, you've seen it.
I was there for a few hours to attend a housewarming party. The invitation was for my parents, but they couldn't make it. My mum used to work as a private tutor for the Evans. Hannah Wright?
Ah, I know of her. Her husband, too. Who doesn't? Luxbourne's most popular couple.
Something falls behind his eyes, the warmth in them suddenly gone, like he's reliving a painful distant memory and seeing it play right in front of him. It disappears almost as soon as it surfaces, but that look has unsettled something in me.
Is something the matter?
Nothing much. But you know, you're already like a daughter to me. So if you could, do be careful with the friends you make.
Is this about the rights, sir?
Just a friendly advice from an old man. Don't think much about it. Anyway,
I think
have to
everything
leave
about it.
now. Can't miss my weekly serving of bear claws. Say hi to your parents at the detective inspector for me, will you? I wish you luck with all that research.
I will. Thanks for this, Andrew.
Andrew gives my shoulder a light squeeze, the gesture of a younger me has always appreciated, and quickly crosses the street after. I watch him until he disappears behind the door to the cafe, until the doubt swimming inside my head finds a moment to rest. Whatever his business is with the rides isn't anything I should concern myself about. But somehow, in the grand scheme of things now, all of it feels oddly relevant. The how, though, I've yet to find out. And I'm hoping the library will give me the answers I want this time. On a gloomy Sunday morning, the library is especially empty, the second floor in particular. I've always considered this place to be a sanctuary, a respite away from the hubbub of the city. As a child, I grew up reading books here, spending hours here to no end, poring over the pages, living out fantasies in my head until my parents called me home. Now it feels like nothing like it. The silence is smothering, suffocating. Even with how clean they've kept the microfiche room, how the entire small of it lacks a speck of dust or clutter. Breathing is a struggle for air. Not far into my stay, I begin to look for a noise outside, and perhaps as a way to calm this unease, I start to hum a tune. Imagine that. Why, of all things, has it to be that silly nursery rhyme? I'm not an inkling. Okay. It does its job, however. It fills the lull with something far less awkward, far less deafening, and that is enough for distraction. I had business here. No time for silly daydreams. Silly daydreams. I was doing that at work, too. Only important work to attend to. And if there's a possibility of being fruitless by some means, it feels like I have to do it. If not for me, then for the people who has been affected by this. What do we even call this? A haunting? A Halloween prank gone wrong? A curse? If Isabella were here, what would she say? Will she panic? Will she be angry I only listen to her now? It all stems from that one moment in the movie house, doesn't it? We could have avoided this had we only taken her warnings to heart. One stupid mistake is all it took to send our normal lives on a downward spiral. Frankly, I'm no longer sure if I'm angry at myself for it or at the universe for throwing us into this mess. But we can only make do of what little we have, and that's exactly what I'm doing. Going here might not be the right decision, but it's a start.
A good start.
It doesn't take much time for me to find what I need. A microfiche of old newspapers. Microfiche. Long kept in special storage cabinets on the far end of the restricted section. The year is it is not 1960. The year is 1620s and beyond. Before the city of Luxburn even existed in the records. When the mansion has just been built. Oh, my neck. And Enslam is nothing more but a small, sleepy hamlet near a river. A lot of pieces are missing, days, sometimes several consecutive weeks without any records remaining. Often it goes on for years. Troublesome, but as it is, I'm lucky enough to find anything at all considering how far I'm looking back. Can't be picky now. Can't waste time mulling over what record keeping of the old could have done to make this a breeze for me.
I can still work with this.
The faint whir of the microfiche machine keeps me company as I go over each slide, each image, hoping for something, I should look up that word, that goes beyond what the local lore knows. There are snippets, little mentions of the family that once settled in the house here and there. The usual singing of praises for the couple who helped brought up what was once a tiny settlement into a buzzing town. It's nothing substantial, nothing I didn't know before. It continues on like this for a good while, until I come by the years after their deaths. The people of Enslam might have loved Lord William and Lady Elizabeth Ermengarde more in their passing and held them in high esteem in the years after. But it was their daughter that was remembered fondly by the townsfolk people. If her parents built this town, Lady Charlotte was the one who made it prosper. Remarkable, considering it was a period of recovery from a bout of plague that killed half the town's population, including her parents. What's surprising, though? Apparently her time also marked more than superficial changes to the place. She moved things, changed laws, altered old customs and traditions. If they were done on a woman's whimsy, it doesn't say, but she seems capable enough for more than that. The gist of it, this town she rebuilt, it's what eventually grew to become Luxburn City, while the nearby Aslan village remained as it was, a relic of the old. A frown swiftly forms in my face.
So, why is there a need to hide this?
One by one, I try to recall every lesson I've gone through, every book, paper, and journal I've read. None of those ever mentioned this. It's always the lord and the lady of the house, their endearing child, always the afterthought to those anecdotes, the one who always took her life in the end. Never someone who restored a town from the brink of collapse or brought new ideas to it. Is it because she's a woman?
That pisses me off.
Granted, not everything is sunshine and rainbows, not all aspects of her can be considered admirable. But this is history. Some parts are bound to naturally delve into unpleasant territory whether I like it or not. Witch hunts, for example, became common near the end of her life, which would have been completely unremarkable and might have gone to become a mere footnote in history if it didn't involve Lady Charlotte and the very slave she saved. It caused quite a stir, enough to leave almost a week's worth of clippings. The girl was eventually burned, condemned by the entire town. At the word of Lady Charlotte alone. But this doesn't really have anything to do with the curse, does it? Unless that woman following us and this slave are the same person. A tale of revenge? How cliché. However, with the lack of accurate photographs, it's impossible to tell. Maybe if I squint, the illustration would start resembling her? But in my field, it doesn't work that way. It shouldn't work that way. I'll be the laughingstock of the community.
This isn't going anywhere.
Mentally exhausted, I take a careful step away from the screen, pressing a palm to my tired eyelids. The lack of ample light in the air doesn't help. A headache already threatens to form at the back of my head, yet I'm nowhere near figuring things out. This is simply too much to take in all at once.
I should have asked for someone's help.
Now I'm at a dead end. I start gathering everything around me and placing them back in their respective envelopes for storage. The motions no longer new after volunteering here a number of times. I didn't make much sense. I didn't make much mess anyway, considering the lack of materials available to begin with. I'll have to look somewhere else. The where remains unknown, though. But just as I'm about to slip the last of the slides in, something catches my attention. My hand pauses, the microfiche halfway through its protective sleeve. This is one of the few I've set aside without taking a careful look at it. It seems like a gossip column at first glance, but upon closer look, I slide it back into the reader, gently turning the dials in search of the page. It takes some time, but once the image becomes clear. They must have had this drawing commissioned for this announcement. I doubt it. I don't doubt it. The details are far more intricate, their likeness likely closer to how they might have appeared at the time. They're both recognizable this way, closer to those paintings I've seen in the mansion. However, it's the man standing beside her, Edward Godfrey, according to the article that caught my attention previously. Her first cousin, and eventually her fiancé. Ugh. Maybe it's the posture of the man in which he holds himself, or maybe it's the shape of his eyes, though I can't be too certain about that until I've gotten a better reference. Nevertheless, there is a resemblance. He looks eerily like... My head snaps up, glowering at whoever's running on the floor above. And today I'd march upstairs to reprimand whoever it is.
This is a library, for heaven's sake.
But now isn't the time. I've gotten what I need. Without wasting another minute, I hit the machine's print button for a copy of the page, while my other hand moves to put everything back into storage. Wild guess! He had an affair with the slave girl, and then so the girl burned her, had her killed, and now she's haunting. Okay, I'm just throwing that out there as a guess. A ragged exhale slips from me. Relief perhaps, or maybe this is already exhaustion. Regardless, soon I'm closing my eyes as I wait for the printer to finish, if only to stave off the headache building up from everything. Sometime I even began humming the same song again, for comfort. Despite my doubts about this, despite all the tension in my shoulders, this may be a small find, but at least I can start somewhere. We can start somewhere. There's a way out of this. I know it. The printer sputters to a halt. However, its sound isn't what makes me snap my eyes open. A feeling, a chilly brush of air behind my neck. Brief enough for something sickening to suddenly lodge itself in my throat while I take in my surroundings. It's that suffocating sensation again, creeping to every part of me, crawling under my skin, draining me little by little of any strength. From that day in the mansion, from that brief moment at the school, without delay I grab the papers and make a quick beeline for the door. Oh, hi! My whole body freezes.
What are you doing, Miss Pink?
I hold my breath, not daring to make any noise. For a little while, only the sound of papers crumpling under my grasp fills the room, the excitement from earlier gone instantly, replaced by a cold, seeping dread spreading throughout my limbs. But more than the fear is the anger. It pains me to hear her using my own student's voice against me, and more than once I believed it was really her. She has no right.
Why don't you play with me?
Don't you fuck off. Although she hasn't made a move, if there isn't a wall behind me, I'll probably take a step back. Anything to put distance between us, no matter how small, as long as I'm out of her reach. But I steel myself, because if I do fall back, turn away from her, I'll be left with no way out. I'm not dying here.
You think you scare me?
Miss Pink, don't be so rude. I'm waiting.
I'm not afraid of you, you spook! This is one Scotswoman. You aren't getting into an early grave without a fight!
Oh, the accent finally kicked in.
Come at me!
I expected she'll lunge, prove to me what a monster she is. Instead, all she gives to me is a twisted smile. All she gives me is a smile. They should have read this better. Instead, all she gives me is a smile, twisted and gnarled. It's as if time has crawled to a stop at the sight of it. A split-second decision, and before I know it, my body shifts. Eyes closing in anticipation, hand grabbing whatever's solid enough at the nearby table and hurling it at her. I don't bother looking if whatever I threw hit its mark. I run. As fast as my legs can carry me, despite my heart threatening to burst out of my chest. But in this maze of bookshelves with the whole place almost void of people, they're even a safe place enough I can escape to. I feel like going for the door, she's gonna block it, so I head upstairs. There are people upstairs, aren't there? The weekend staff or some volunteer? There should be. Even if it's Sunday and I'm the only here on a special permit, there should be at least one other person manning this place. I heard them a while ago. Of course, I could possibly tell them about this. They won't believe me in the same manner. We didn't buy Isabella's story until it was too late, but I can easily come up with excuses. For now, that's important is don't end up trapped and alone with her.
Safety in numbers, as they say.
There's no hesitation in my step as I race upstairs, ears straining for any signs of sounds of the woman appearing, jumping at me again from behind. I can still hear her behind me, the grinding of bones, her whispers as she keeps calling me back. Although it's at a distance, I don't slow my pace. Library rules be damned. Because no matter how much I pretend to be brave, the level-headed one or the tough one, this terrifies me. This scares me more than anything. This isn't how I plan to die. When I get to the 3rd floor, only silence welcomes me and an emptiness that stretches out far too wide, spanning the entirety of the floor for it to be reassuring. And just behind me, somewhere on the foot of the stairs, panic rises up in my throat. No other way now but up. So I bolt, desperation kicking in without warning. I take 2 steps at a time, tripping clumsily over some of it as my last-ditch attempt to escape. But I know. At the back of my mind, I know. I know all this is futile. With every footfall, with every ragged breath, with every pounding of my heart, it gets hammered to my mind. And it only becomes clear to me once the door at the end opens, revealing the vast expanse of Luxthorn's early morning skyline, and with her treading at my heels, blocking my only way out.
Stay away from me!
A useless plea. Does she even understand a word I say? Can she even? Is she still human in the first place? Somehow I doubt it. Because no human being will ever do this. Simply imagining what she's capable of doing to us. I never want to give her that chance.
I'm telling you to back off!
Her gait is slow as she walks forward. Each stride accompanied by the sound of breaking bones, of blood oozing from wounds that never found healing. With every inch she draws nearer, even as I pull away to take back what little distance I can between us, the smile in her merely grows wider, a mocking gesture for me. She may be less of a human now, but I'm pretty sure she's fully aware she's got me cornered. She wouldn't even bother making it here if she isn't. But I can't look away. I can't bring myself to, even if as the heels of my shoe eventually hits the edge. End of the line. Trapped. Alone. So this is how it ends, huh? Quietly and without fanfare, surrounded not by a warm breeze but a chilly morning air. No soft footfalls on an empty hallway, but the din of the early morning traffic below. No warm afternoon light. Nothing but the cold, pungent smell of death, all underneath a dreary morning sky. How fitting. Yet amidst all of it, there's a single voice I want to hear. If only for the last time.
Becca?
Hey, did I wake you up?
No, I left you a voicemail, so I thought... Where are you?
The one I grew up with. Who always got... This is... If she dies, I swear I'm gonna have to go backwards and click the other option and see if that was even an option. But I don't think it was. I think she would have died if I did that, and this is just the story. Because usually it's just an immediate ending. Who always got grades better than I did without even trying. Whose silly antics I have to put up with all these years. Who stood by me even when things got tougher. The one person who's been a constant in my life.
Ash, do you remember that one time?
The... what?
Back in secondary. We joined a contest back then, didn't we? We had to dress you up as a girl and...
No.
What? You looked really pretty. I think I still have that picture somewhere.
Burn it. We're not talking about that again. You promised. Seriously, what brought this on?
Nothing. It's just the first thing I remembered.
So weird. Despite everything, my lips curl up into a smile, faint and sad little things on its own given the situation. Because even at the very end, I know I have this. The casual talk, the friendly banter, talking like how we've always would as children. If only I hadn't been too selfish. If only I haven't taken all this for granted in favor of my feelings. Then perhaps I won't be regretting anything now.
You're being weird today, Becca. Whatever. Listen, I need you to go home right away. I'm at Salem Well right now and...
I wish time would simply stop for us. There are still a lot of things I want to say. Things I've never bothered saying out loud, things I should have said a long time ago to someone who has always been by my side. But in this moment, there's only one.
Thanks, Ash.
Hold on, did I do something?
For everything.
Rebecca, what?
I'm so glad to have known you.
Wait, what are you? God damn it, Rebecca, where are you?
A soft click, and now I'm closing my eyes. There's a rush of air, the sound of the world dimming around me, like a song coming to its inevitable end.
London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down. London Bridge is falling down, my fair lady.
If there's one, it's out this room, out of this place, as far as anyone can get from her. I can think about the rest of what I can do after I'm outside, when there are other people I can ask for help. When she's not chasing me after this, there's no hesitation in my steps as I race for the restricted section's door, head downstairs, and barrel straight for the library's exit. For its safety and desperate bid for my life, library rules be damned. I can no longer hear her behind me, but I'm not taking any chances. My breath almost escapes me as I near the door. A little more. When out of nowhere, a library cart careens from a blind corner and slams into my side. My back hits the floor with a hard thump, the impact completely knocking the breath out of me. The copper tang of blood gradually spreads over my tongue as I fight to get my bearings back. To force myself to move, in with the excruciating pain coursing through my limbs. The exit's almost there, if only I can, but there's no moment of respite. Next thing I know, there's a heavy weight on top of me and cold digits slide around my neck, tight like a vice pressing close in, leaving me gasping for air. Through my blurred vision, I can only make out the hateful gleam, the spite in her eyes as she looms over my body and her grip. My throat grows. Desperation kicks in. My nails dig into her wrist as I struggle against her firm grip, trying to pry her fingers away.
Let me.
Keep the slider within the green bar. Oops! I pushed the button! I wanted to play it. I'm gonna go back. Oh well, okay. Sorry. I hate the buttons on these things. I don't think twice. My limbs are moving on their own before what I did could actually fully register in my brain and my lungs could recover. Behind me, she lets out a cry, sharp, loud, and thunderous against the empty walls of the library. But the fear her wails bring compares nothing to the relief washing over me when I finally make it outside. My knees buckle as soon as my feet hit the pavement, its surface cold and hard against my skin. I've only been in there for a few hours, but 1 or 2 probably. I don't know anymore. It feels like an eternity all the same. My breathing hasn't slowed down yet, and I don't expect it to after going through that. I probably look the most undignified creature on a Sunday morning right now, out of breath, disheveled, slumped here with a bloody lip and all. But at present, I can't bring myself to care, even when a few passers-by start giving me strange looks. Stare at me all you want. I don't give a single shite. I'm alive. I'm safe. This isn't the end yet, but I'm safe. And inside my bag is something that could get us out of this mess. Nothing definite yet. I don't want to get my hopes up, but it's still something. Also, that picture I unlocked on the other one I did, I think my assumptions might be right. If Isabella's here, I'm sure she'll feel the same. She'll be the first one who'll put her faith on it. Whoever this will lead us is to victory on its own. Now all that's left is to find the others, the rest of us trapped in this bloody nightmare. Right on cue, as if to answer my previous thought, my mobile phone lets out a beep. I pick it up, simply hoping it'll be one of them. Only it's a voicemail that greets me. From Ashton. There's a pang of disappointment, of course, but it brings some reassurance that nothing happened to at least one of them.
Hey, Becca, call me back when you're free. We need to talk. ASAP.
But it ends right there. The message is less than a minute long, curt, and gives nothing away. I let it ease my worries, regardless, and do as he asks. Because this, too, is another triumph for us. One less thing to worry about. Okay. Finally! It only took just 20 minutes under. Nope, don't do that. I'm not ready for that. I want to save.
Welcome.
Backlog.
Welcome, everyone.
I'll start. Stop. Alright, that's all I'm gonna do. I'm tired. I got places to go. I got things to do.